Finally, they told us they opened the wires in the back. Everyone take their coats, their blanket. Take their blanket and go out through the back. I knew that something was happening, because all of a sudden they tell us they do away with that fence. They cut the fence open for us to go out through the back, and we dragged ourselves I don't know how long. We're laying down on the grass, waiting near the railroad track, and all of a sudden, after a day, I don't know, a train came. I couldn't understand. So I lay there and see on the back there were 2 cattle cars. But these cattle cars did not have a roof, no roof on it. Open. In the back was a soldier standing there. And they bombed the train a week after we came off of the train. We could not drag ourselves. Sit down next to me was a young boy, Manek. There's a forest. The forest was not too far. I said, come on. I'm not going back on that train. Something is happening that hasn't happened until now. Let's go. We dragged ourselves over, and there were trees all over. Got scratched. We're laying on the ground. Now when you lay on the ground, you can hear what's happening around you. When we laid ourselves out, the guy who was next to me, he says, I don't know what your name is, but I am from Lodz, Poland. I cannot hold out no more. I'm dying. I said, you lived through all of the atrocities. Now, you're going to die? Come on, boy. He told me he was dying. I said, we go to the right. I looked up to the right. We start walking until I see out of the forest more daylight. And I crossed the street. Was a soldier walking back and forth, but on his arm, lapel, I could see that he has an American flag. I knew then that we had survived already.
Oh, the Russians liberated me. Well, we stayed in Parsnitz for a while, and then when the train started to run, I cannot know how long. I cannot remember how long. I went back to home. 3 girls from Lodz, we went back. I wanted to see, I survived, maybe somebody else also survived. You don't know what you can survive. So I went back. We came in the middle of, Lodz was liberated in January. And they liquidated the ghetto in the end of August. So the Russians were not far then. So I went back. We didn't know where to go. It was in the evening.
From inside the kitchen came a guy. He must have been a chaplain. He talked a little Yiddish. He talked to us, don't not eat this food because you die. A lot of your people die from hunger because they ate the wrong food. They'd taken us into another building not too far from there. There were more people. There were even Russian people there too. And that's where we used to get farina and milk. Farina put the body back to life. Finally, a guy with a motorcycle had taken us to Landsberg am Lech. And then I knew, I'm already free.
The Russians, the Americans, they supplied food. And we have to be careful to eat because some people survived the war but died after, if you were not too careful. We stayed overnight. In the morning, we went to look to our places where we live. I still found the house. I still found, and I don't know how I did it. This was after the war. My mother, when the Germans came in, we had to give up everything. If you have some kind of silver, my mother, or a sewing machine. So we had a 2 sewing machines. She buried it behind a stove. And I knew about it when I came back. So I went to see the house and I say it's still there. How I did it, I still cannot understand. Weak, young, I knocked it out, and I carried it, and I walked. I knew a lady which lived there. She was liberated in Lodz. She had a store, a neighbor. So I went there and I carried it. How I walked with it, a sewing machine head is not light. How I did it, I don't know. Don't ask. I still don't know. But I carried it, and then I sold it. So I had something to eat. We came back without anything, without clothes, without anything.
After the war, the only one who survived was myself. I didn't have nobody. After the war, after I came to Landsberg, I became a displaced person. I became a sanitation policeman. There were so many good people available. Everything was like a little country. There were people from different countries, singers, actors. We had different theater player people. One time, a Jewish-American actor, Herman Yablokov, visited our show. He could not believe how so many people from different countries. He told us that these Germans, that they did not understand what happened. After the war, they know now what happened to good people.
I met a friend, we became very friendly. She also, after a while I said, I'm not going to stay. I'm going back to Germany. I want to go at least on the American side. I don't want to be on the Russian side. So I went back, we went back. We went to Częstochowa, we went to Krakow. We heard a transport is going back. There were other nationalities also. There were English, there were different Greeks, there were different people, which Italians. So our transport goes back to Germany, and over there the people will go to the places where they want to go. We traveled free. They knew we don't have no money to pay. So we wanted to go the American side. So we asked the leader. Most people did get out in Prague, but this was Russian. So we asked him, what should we do? He said that the train is going to Pilsen. And Pilsen is on the American side. Oh, that's good. He said, just lie down and sleep. When you come to Pilsen, get out. So we went to Pilsen. We got out. In Pilsen, there were a lot of camps in Germany, established a lot of camps, which were supported by the American and English. The whole world didn't want to take us in. So there was a transport going to Landsberg, so we went to Landsberg. But we really wanted to go to Feldafing. So we asked people what we do. They said, in Munich, get out of the train and go on the train to Feldafing. So we did it. We came to Feldafing. We saw every day came lists from people which survived. And my friend found a brother on the list. So we came to Feldafing. There was just a camp and we saw that he was not there. But we met a friend. I worked with her in the ghetto, and she did go to school with her. We stayed there a day, and we went to Landsberg, because I didn't like Feldafing. So we went to Landsberg, and we stayed in Landsberg. We went back finally to find the brother. The brother came to Landsberg also. And we stayed in Landsberg. It was a camp. Well, my husband was here. He was a policeman. I worked in they serve food, so we were waitresses. And this is where I met him. But we got married in 46. This was 2 years after the war. No, not quite 2 years, a year. We're going to be married 77 years.
There was a guy, Matek Friedman. He was already married. She had a girlfriend. Her name was Frieda. So I asked him, "Who is this girl who walks with you all?" He said he didn't know her. Her name was Frieda. So I told him, "Give me an acquaintance with her." And that's how I got acquainted with her. And we started together, and I started dating her, and I proposed. She was also from the same city where I was, from Lodz.